Once upon a time, there lived a wise man in a small village. He was the head of the local administration of that village. Everyone respected him, and his views and opinions were well regarded. Many people came to him seeking different advice. His son, however, was very lazy and wasted his time sleeping, playing video games, and spending time with his friends. No amount of advice or threat made any difference to him. He wouldn't change at all. The years passed, and with time faded the youth of the wise man. As he grew older, he began to worry about his son's future. In order for him to be able to take care of himself and his family, he needed to give something to his son. So one day, he called his son to his room and said, "My son, you are no longer a kid now. You must learn to take responsibilities and understand life. And I want you to find the real purpose of your life. And when you find it, remember it always, and you will lead a life full of happiness and joy." After saying this, then his father went to other room and brought a bag and handed over to his son. When the son opened the bag, he was surprised to see 4 sets of clothes, one for each season. Also bag contained with some raw food, grains, survival tools, some money, and a map. Then his father continued, "I want you to seek out and find a treasure. I have drawn a map of the place where the treasure is hidden. You need to get out and find it." The son loved this idea because for him this was something adventurous. The very next day, he set off on a journey to find the treasure. He had to travel really far across borders, forests, plateaus, and mountains according to the map. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Along the way, he met a lot of people in different areas. Some provided food and some provided shelter for him. He also came across robbers who tried to rob him. Slowly the season changed, and so did the landscapes along with it. When the weather was unpleasant, he halted for the day and continued his journey when the weather cleared. Finally, after a long year, he reached his destination. It was a cliff. The map showed the treasure being placed below the cliff under the tree. Upon spotting the tree, he began to dig the ground. Despite searching around it, under it, and on it, he didn't find anything. He spent 2 days looking and digging for the treasure. By the 3rd day, he was so exhausted that he decided to leave. Disappointed by his father's lie, he headed back to his home. On his way back, he experienced the same changing landscapes and seasons. This time, however, he took a moment to enjoy the blooming flowers in spring and the dancing birds in the monsoon. He stayed in places only to watch the sun set in paradise and to enjoy pleasant summer evenings, since the raw food and other supplies he carried were over by then. He then learned to hunt and make arrangements for his meals. Furthermore, he learned how to sew his clothes and build a shelter for himself. He was now able to determine the hour of the day by the position of the sun and plan his journey accordingly. He also learned how to protect himself from wild animals. He met the same people who had helped him earlier. This time, he stayed a few days with them and helped them in some or the other way to repay them. He realized how kind they were to an ordinary pedestrian who had nothing to offer them in return. When he reached home, he realized it had been 2 years since he left the place. He walked straight into his father's room. "Father," he said. His father immediately jumped to his feet and hugged his son. "So how was your journey, my son? Did you find the treasure?" he asked. "The journey was fascinating, father, but forgive me. I wasn't able to find the treasure. Perhaps someone took it before I reached it." He surprised himself with what he said. He wasn't angry at his father. Instead, he was asking for forgiveness. And his father answered, "There wasn't any treasure in the very first place, my son," and smiled. "But why did you send me to find it then?" he asked. "I will surely tell you why. But first you tell me, how was your journey to the place? Did you enjoy it?" "Of course not. I had no time. I was worried because of someone else would find the treasure before I did. I was in a hurry to reach the cliff. He continued and said, but I enjoyed the journey on my way back home. I made many friends and witnessed miracles every day. I learned so many different skills and the art of survival. There was so much I learned that it made me forget the pain of not finding the treasure. And Father said to him, exactly, my son. I want you to live a life with a goal in mind. But if you remain too focused on the goal, you will miss out on the real treasures of life. The truth is, life has no goal at all, other than to just experience it and grow with it every single day. So, what can we learn from this? In the process of worrying about our future goals, we often overlook our current actions. It is important to set future goals for growth, but we also need to enjoy and learn the lesson of life with journey along the way. It is when we set out in life without trying to associate any meaning or greater purpose to it that we find the treasure of true joy in each moment.